Hello Internet, I am the hero of Julios, once again with another One Piece chapter summary. The first chapter summary of 2024, as you can tell by my... One moment, please. And there you have it, an actual 2024 calendar. I swapped out my little record with the KK slider there. I actually have this nice new tapestry featuring Sanji. I also have two more featuring Luffy and Zoro. I might switch between them throughout the year. And then I got a couple new statues. I know normally the last few years I've done like a huge overhaul of the background, but this year I did not have as many things to swap out. I didn't want to go back to things I've used in previous years. So for now, things will look like this, and I don't know, maybe this year I'll change it up and just alter things throughout. So think of it like a little find it game. See if you can spot the differences every time I try to change something in the background. But without further ado, let's get into chapter 1103, I'm Sorry, Daddy, which is just such an uplifting title for the for the start of the new year. So the art this week features Yamato and Momonosuke along with the Straw Hat crew because we are entering the Year of the Dragon, and Wano is just not something we're ever going to forget. It's very prevalent in the card game. It's very prevalent in the current media for One Piece. It's the anime and the dub. The anime just finished Wano. The dub is still in the middle of it. I liked Wano. I'm going to start with that. But we need to stop acting like Wano was the only arc that happened in One Piece. Because it was rough piece for the longest time. Let's start talking about Egghead, or maybe give Whole Cake Island a chance to shine. Like, I don't know, just anything. Set 6 is coming out this March in the American states, and that's where we're going to get a Thriller Bark deck, which I'm really looking forward to. But you're not here to hear me talk about the card game. You're here to talk about the new chapter and the art that kind of triggered this little ramble. So the chapter begins with Bonnie forgiving Vegapunk, telling him that she's sorry that she hunted him down and blamed him for all this. Having looked through her father's memories, she now realizes who the real villain is. She also knows that her father is not only putting everything on her, but also betting on Straw Hat Luffy. So she knows that he's a friend and that he is the son of Dragon, who was Kuma's friend. And Vegapunk even mentions it's pretty wild that the two of you arrived on this island at the same time. Even a scientist like him has to acknowledge that fate is a very strange thing. While this is happening, though, he decides to give her birthday gift, the 10th birthday gift, 10th year birthday gift that Kuma wanted him to pass along the next time he saw her. Kuma probably didn't know it was going to be 2 years, but, better late than never. And it's supposed to be a good luck charm, although some translations said it was going to be a protective charm. Personally, I'll get to what I think about it in a little bit. But Bonnie finally tells Vegapunk, it's not you I'm mad at, because I know it's not your fault anymore. The real person at fault is Saturn. So we cut back to Saturn holding Bonnie in his hands, and everybody else kind of looking on in horror. Borsalino's on the ground, having taken a licking from Luffy, and everyone's unable to move in the presence of Saturn. Although Luffy's unable to move for different reasons, as he calls out, begging for food. The only person close enough to him is Atlas, who unfortunately tells him as much as she would love to feed him, she can't move either. I'm wondering if this is a hockey thing or if it's a devil fruit ability, but something Saturn is doing is preventing enemies from moving. While this is happening, though, Kizaru is laying there and he sees Sentomaru get captured and he sees Bonnie in the clutches of Saturn, and he's kind of just sitting there thinking about the two of them and maybe where he is in this machine that he says he is nothing more than a cog in. Whatever's happening, though, it doesn't matter, because Bonnie decides she's going to fight back, and she tells her Devil Fruit to give her a Nika-like future, as she gets the giant giant pistol ready to pound down on him, and shrinks back to normal. And Saturn tells her, you really think that was going to work? And in his head, he's thinking, she has not seemed to have made the connection between Luffy and Nika, the white form of Luffy and Nika. And he's like, that's because I know how the age fruit works because I gave it to you. Fun fact, as fun as it can be, I guess. Fun fact about Saturn is he loves to do science experiments on people. And some of these scientific experiments will benefit humanity to some extent, because at least we will learn new things. Among these scientific experiments, Saturn, in his infinite wisdom, decided to ask what would happen if we took a devil fruit, turned it into a serum or a liquid or baby food, have you, and fed it to an infant. So they did. And they gave the power of the age fruit to a baby. Unfortunately for Saturn, that baby got away, and he never saw what happened to that experiment, but it turned out to be successful because it rendered the devil fruit useless. So my guess is what happened in the experiment was they turned it into infant food, they fed it to the baby, and then some dude had to take a bite out of a gross fruit. But whatever happened, the age fruit no longer worked, which meant the baby had the power. The true potential of the age fruit exists in the belief of the person who owns it. Or has the power, I should say. So, unlike the Nika fruit, where your limit is your imagination, the age fruit's limit is what you believe to be possible, the futures that you believe in. In the example of Bonnie, if she believes that she's going to look like Granny Connie when she's old, she will. And that's how she becomes her shriveled up little self. Or if she believes she's going to be buff in the future, she becomes this buff woman. If she believes she's going to be taller, if she believes she's going to be shorter, if she believes that she is going to be Nika-like. But this devil fruit's weakness is in the progression of age. For example, if Shanks were to eat this devil fruit, no matter what future he predicts, it'll always be in a future where he only has a right arm. He cannot predict a future where he grows an arm because deep down inside, Shanks will never believe that future to be true. This devil fruit is perfect for children and terrible for adults. In fact, feeding it to a baby is probably the smartest thing you could do with the devil fruit. Because then that child, with the childlike wonder of believing anything is possible, everything becomes possible. But as Saturn is holding Bonnie and telling her this, he tells her, you don't believe in Nika as much as you used to. And she's like, of course I do. As soon as I set out to sea, I was going to find Nika and he was going to free my dad. And he goes, ha. But as I'm holding you here, crushing you between my fingers, you have stopped believing in Nika. You're starting to believe your only fate is to die at my hand. And as he's holding her, he's thinking, this is really good. I've got her on the ropes. She doesn't believe in a Nika-like future, so I don't got to get punched by a giant fist. And Straw Hat Luffy is unable to obtain his Nika form. What is going on? Who gave this man food? As Luffy is chowing down on something someone gave him. Luffy is eating this bountiful feast. There's a couple ways to theorize this. It's possible that Luffy just had enough strength to tiptoe his hand over to a banana and start eating. Maybe Caribou is doing something again by being the little swamp man that he is. He may have pooled himself, got over to Luffy and was like, psst, here's a ham sandwich. A third possibility is the panel immediately after depicts Kizaru laying there looking at Luffy with a ... above his head. It's entirely possible the man that moves at the speed of light may have grabbed a whole bunch of food, yoinked it over to Luffy, and then laid back down like nothing happened, as if a small child was hiding his pillow so mom didn't notice he had his DS. Whatever the reason, Luffy's eating, and we gotta stop that. Somebody put Sea Prism handcuffs on him. However it happens, I need that guy dead. So as this distraction begins happening, he sort of gets caught between his words and stuff. He throws Bonnie to the ground, and he explains to her another tragic fate that is completely his fault. he's the reason Ginny had sapphire scales. Because as he worded it, it's ironic that your mother was the 8th wife of a fellow in Maryjois, because that allowed me to do some experiments on her. I wasn't expecting the sapphire scales to transfer to you, but it all worked out in the end for me. Now, the reason this translation is so important, and the reason why it's important to wait until the official release, is a lot of people, myself included, read the first translation as 8th wife. Oh, you must be Saturn's wife. That means Bonnie is Saturn's daughter. This turns out to not be the case, at least the way it's worded in the Viz translation. But what's more important is Vegapunk getting really mad because Saturn used the disease that Bonnie got because of him to bargain with Kuma to do something that benefited Saturn. Saturn literally made the gamble, or not the gamble, made the deal that was his own fault to begin with. So if Vegapunk ever had a reason to betray the world government, it's been now due to just the sheer amount of times that his life has been attempted upon. A couple other satellites have died. The fact that Saturn is here right now to kill him. So Vegapunk, being the man of honor that he is pretty miffed, and has every reason to be so. So while this is all going on, Saturn receives a radio call telling him that a pacifista has just landed on Egghead Island. But not just any pacifista. There's no lasers on the palms of this one, as Kuma starts making his way across the island towards his daughter, his entire time beating like a drum. If I'm reading the translation correctly, the Viz version, it sounds like Kuma's heartbeat is beating to the drums of liberation. So whatever happened, either it was Luffy's awakening, or in my theory, Bonnie's protective charm, her little good luck bracelet, Kuma knew to come here to assist Nika. But if that wasn't enough, Bonnie being thrown to the ground, watching as this massive Saturn is ready to just stomp her out of existence, begins to think to herself, I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry, Daddy. I feel like maybe things would have been better if I was just dead right now. A world where you're better off dead. It's the one thing Kuma never wanted his daughter to feel. And here we are. So as Bonnie is crying her last words, her last thoughts of her father, and Saturn's foot coming to crash down, Kuma gets right in front of it, back ready, grabs his daughter, and tanks the hit. In a pose very reminiscent of when Ace saved Luffy. But this time, Kuma read that chapter, and he knew that he wasn't going to survive against Magma. But a big foot? Yeah, he's got the medal for that. Kuma survives, holds his daughter, puts her down gently, grabs the foot of Saturn, and reels back for a punch. And that's where the chapter ends. So, a very important thing to take note of here is as the Commodores and Marines and all the people who can't get close because they're not allowed to see Saturn's true form, I assume, as these people are watching Kuma land and charge in, they make a very important note to Saturn that their command chips are not working. They do not have the authority to tell Kuma what to do. They didn't give the order to go attack Saturn. Who above them? Did Sentomaru? He was on Egghead. He couldn't command Kuma. Did CP9 or Zero? They couldn't. They're on the island. Did one of the other elders? Probably not, because Kuma was just sitting there chilling on the Kamabaka Queendom. So who asked Kuma for help? Giant robot deep underneath Egghead Island? Woke up because of the drum beat of Luffy's heart? Maybe there's a connection here. Maybe Vegapunk did figure out the technology, but just didn't figure out the power source. Or, my personal theory, Bonnie's little chip. Please help me, Daddy. Please let me see my father. Come here, Bartholomew Kuma. This chip that little Bonnie possesses holds more authority than the 5 elders themselves. And that's why Kuma came to save his daughter. Which, I mean, it sucks that her dad is effectively dead. I still gonna stand by my soul theory until we leave Egghead Island, that Kuma's little soul bubble is waiting to be put into S-Bear. Or hey, now that the real body's here, maybe it's gonna be put back into himself. That would be cool too. He just has to make, well, no, it's a copy of memory, so it's not even like he'd lose his memory and be an amnesiac. So we won't have a third case of amnesia in One Piece yet. But whatever the reason, it looks like the family's been reunited, and Saturn is about to be punched for what I will only presume to be the first time in his life. So I hope you'll be there when it happens. I know I'll be reading, so thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next chapter, as well as the new year. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.